1, 2, 3, 4. All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. As always, I'm Logan, sitting here with Andy and Kyle, and this week we have a special guest, Mr. Lucas Jagneaux, a Texas artist by way of Louisiana. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Logan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Just it's only Tuesday. It's already been a long week, so
that's right. I've always told everybody Tuesday's just another Monday. So.
Yeah, you got that right. Except for you're just a little bit more tired.
Yeah, exactly. At least you had Sunday to rest up.
Exactly. I mean, day of rest for a reason. Monday, not so much as a day of work.
That's right.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come on, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all. Really do.
It's like we were talking about right before we started recording. Now, like I first discovered you. Just people retweeting your stuff on Twitter, checked out your music. I liked what I heard, and me and the guys were talking about. I wanted to get you on here, so definitely appreciate you coming on. But I guess first thing I wanted to ask was, because I was reading your bio a while back, and you were saying you kind of allude to it too, and with the song title, "What is your most recent single about the worst thing about Texas, like having to leave?" But you're originally from Louisiana, so what part of Louisiana are you from?
So originally from a place called Mansfield, Louisiana, and if you're at all familiar with like Shreveport, Bossier area, that's in the northwest corner, and we're about 30 minutes south of there, where I grew up. But I currently live about an hour south of there in a town called Manny. We're right on the Texas line where Toledo Bend, the lake, meets Texas. So we're as close to Texas as Louisiana could be,
Yeah, I get that. Where we're from, we're right on the we're about 10 minutes away from the Virginia border. Where the three of us grew up. So yeah, we know what it's like to live on one of those border towns.
Yeah, right. That's cool, man.
Virginia's not quite as cool as Texas, though.
No, not at all.
Let's be honest.
Virginia sometimes kind of sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I got some good friends from up in Virginia. I wish I could tell you the exact town, but I met them like twice, and we became excellent friends. They came down, and we went to a couple of mud rides together, believe it or not, huge four-wheeler ATV mud rides down in Jacksonville, Texas, and made really good friends with them. They called themselves the Plowboys. There were about 9 of them. They were good dudes.
Hell yeah, man.
You fit right in our hometown.
For sure. We can already tell you would definitely fit in with us and our friends and everything. So, yeah, like I said, we're from small town North Carolina. But so I guess the one thing I did want to know too was was it Texas music something you grew up listening to, or was that something you kind of discovered a little bit later on in life?
Dude, I would probably be hung from a tree for what I'm about to say by some folks, but I didn't really get into it. I had heard it. I started playing music. I've been singing my whole life, but I actually started playing when I was 17, and I didn't care for it when I first heard it. Several people tried to turn me on to it, and I just kind of blew it off. I was really into old school, late 80s, 90s country from Nashville, right, Tennessee, and I thought that some of the things I'd heard were okay, but as far as the big picture, I wasn't a fan. And then later on down the road, I guess in truth, it would have been Cody Johnson that really just blew my socks off when he came out with that Cowboy Like Me album. And I was hooked from there. Anywhere that rabbit hole led, I went, and I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic record too. I know Andy and I used to listen to that one a lot once we kind of got into the Texas style of music, at least. So Kojo is definitely a good one to get you into it.
Start to finish, man, that was a good one. I used to work for a lady in town where I lived, and I would bush hog pastures, cut her grass, and all that, and I just throw my headphones in and let it roll from start to finish, and that one really got me going. So,
but I mean, no one's going to hang you on this show because me and you got a lot in common.
Some other shows might, though.
Some other shows might.
I
was fairly similar to you. D-Bear, he was like, right, check these people out. I don't really want to. Well, finally give it a shot, and then all of a sudden they let me come on their show, and then I just kind of stayed here, and so
Yeah,
I thank them for that. But they've turned me on to a whole new genre of music that my stubborn self didn't want to at first.
right.
Chance, and they were right in the end, but I'll never tell them that.
Yeah, he was stuck in that rut of listening to the same 10 artists he was listening to when we were in high school, and I was like, dude, you're missing out. I was like, you gotta check these people out.
Right. Yeah, dude, sadly and shamefully, that's a downfall for me. Like if somebody tries, my brother, my drummer Tobin, he tried for almost a complete year to tell me about Parker McCollum.
Oh yeah.
And then one day we were on the way home from a studio, and he was like, dude, just listen to this song. And he turned on Misunderstood. And I was like, yep, okay, I get it. I'm good.
Yeah, we're big Parker fans. Like we've Andy and I have been listening to him since right before Probably Wrong came out. We were a little bit later than the folks that were on with the Limestone Kid album, but we were on Parker a little bit earlier than most people in North Carolina, because it's funny now. You see a guy coming out of Texas like him who's getting some notoriety like nationally, and all these people who have no idea that this whole like region of music and their own charts and radio even exists. They're like playing Parker songs. It's kind of cool to see.
The king of the area,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So you said you've been playing music since you were 17. When you got into like this kind of genre or this subgenre, I don't even know what to call it half the time, but like within Texas, what is it like trying to break into that? Because I know like people go to Nashville and they play gigs around town. They attend like writers circles and everything and stuff like that. How do you break into the Texas scene?
Man, so it was honestly, which I never really tried the Nashville thing, so I can't really speak on how difficult that is. But at least from what I've heard about it, like I don't think Texas was near as rough and tough and cutthroat, if you will. I mean, we had some friends that were already playing, had already kind of got some plugs in the East Texas area, so we just kind of followed that lead and beat that horse till they let us in. We pretty much go anywhere that they would answer our emails or phone calls, and started out that way. And then eventually, we always tried to be without, for the sake of not sounding like I'm trying to hate on my hometown, but we always tried to be like the hero around here. But it was like, you're just the guy I went to high school with around here. You're not a superstar. I know you. So we decided that getting out was the option. So we started heading west and looking into it. And it's really crazy, because I feel like I'm rambling, but it's crazy that we played so many shows for so many years. And then in 2019, I got involved in a couple of songwriting contests, and it seems like from there, everything just started really taking off for us, So it's been a wild ride the past couple of years.
I hear that, because didn't you won the 2019 Texas Music Picker songwriting competition, didn't you?
Yeah. I was in the beginning of that year. I was at one in Lindale, Texas, and that's where I met my good buddy Jordan Nix. Y'all may have heard of him.
Yeah.
That's where I met Jordan, and that pretty much changed our lives. And then, of course, through that relationship, I got into the Texas Music Pickers thing and the College Station scene, and I went down there and took home first in that one. So that was sweet, because I didn't expect to win at all,
Hell yeah, man. What song was it that you ended up winning with?
It was The Worst Thing About Texas. That's
nice.
what I played. That's what I played last. It had not been recorded. I don't even think anybody had heard it hardly, but I pulled it off on them down there, and it was kind of like my finishing move. You couldn't repeat songs. So the whole time I've got that in my back pocket, and I'm like, God, just let me make it to the finals, so I can play the song. And then it worked out. So that was cool. That was really cool.
Saving that one. That was the Stone Cold Stunner. You were saving that one for the end of the match.
That's right, man. That's right. That's right. I had to.
Yeah, I hear that.
It
that's one
out,
of my.
Man,
I was just saying that was one of the standout ones of like your discography that like me and Kyle were talking about it beforehand. We really are a big fan of that one. Like we love the sound of it, and just like it's. Before I ever comment on, I always like to ask the artist while we have them here, how do you describe your sound?
Man, it probably sounds so cliche, but I mean, I love the traditional country music sounds, pedal steel and the fiddle. And then of course, me, heck, all of us, my whole band, we grew up with very Southern rock roots and influences from Leonard Skinner. And obviously, as you get into the Texas thing, you've got Whiskey Myers. So, I mean, coming up listening to stuff like that, you're like, I would say it's country, but it's got some grit, at least some of them. Worst thing about Texas is the more traditional, pretty melodic song, compared to some other stuff that we've done. But if I had to give the whole thing a vibe, it would definitely be kind of like Southern rock country mixed,
Yeah.
I've had people tell us that they really like the Louisiana sound, and I hadn't quite figured out what that means yet. So I don't know. I don't know if we sound like we're from Louisiana or not, but I mean, maybe we do.
Well, maybe you could if you started speaking some French in your songs. So I was going to ask you. I know you had said that you started playing with your friends and whatnot at your hometown. When did you realize that you could sing? Was it growing up in, I don't know if you went to church or a lot of people, especially from around where we're at, it takes a lot of courage to step out of that little comfort zone. It's a lot different than singing in a choir versus being the only voice. I didn't know if that was something. I didn't know if you had ever done that, or you just were singing in the shower and your mom was like, "Hey, you don't sound half bad." I just didn't know. I was just curious. When did you realize that you could sing? Because not everybody can. I know we can.
I've been right. I've been told that I've been singing since like a little after I could talk. My grandfather played music. My mom sang. My great grandfather was a fiddle player, Western swing musician in North Louisiana. I mean, a really long line of musicians and music in general. And then, but I remember being a kid. They tell me that I used to grab my great grandmother's walking cane and use it as my microphone, and I'd sing "Should Have Been a Cowboy" by Toby Keith, for everybody. But as far as really kind of getting the courage and stuff like that, I mean, I probably couldn't. I wouldn't want to stand up and talk in front of anybody, but it seemed like when I started holding the guitar, I could close my eyes and just do my thing, and it didn't really matter, if anybody was watching or not. So I guess that's kind of my what'd be the word? I guess the crutch. As long as I got that in my hand, I can take care of it. But without it, I'm just awkward. So
yeah, well, join the club. Join the club.
Yeah, well, I would say I don't blame you, because like when it comes to being in front of people with the guitar is almost like a crutch, but in a good way. But as somebody who watches a lot of people sing, I think it's always kind of awkward when there are dudes up there without a guitar and they're having to figure out what to do with their hands, like Ricky Bobby. It's just like you don't really know what to do at that point without the guitar.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to follow up his question a little bit, is was there a specific like moment that you decided that you wanted to play music for a career?
Man, I would definitely I'd say that came after learning the guitar, after picking that up and kind of getting my feet wet with it. I pretty much taught myself with the help of the internet. Obviously, I grew up in the 2000s where you could just hop on a mobile phone and look up whatever you want to look up. So that was very, very cool. But when I started learning chords and stuff and really stringing the songs together the way I wanted to, writing my own stuff, I mean, I was like, hey, in some capacity, no matter what I do, whether it's writing or performing or producing, whatever it could be, I want to do this. So probably 17, 18 years old, something like that,
Go ahead, Kyle.
I could probably Google this, but I'm lazy. How old are you right now?
I'm 30.
30. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're about the same age as us. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we're all about 27 at this point. So yeah, we're about in the same age bracket. We all definitely we're blessed with growing up in the era. If you want to learn to play guitar, YouTube's your friend.
Yeah. YouTube, Google, eChord, you name it, man. It was all just right there waiting on me.
Oh yeah.
I hear my bass player's dad was a big musician and singer back in the late 80s, early 90s, and he'd always kind of have a little bit of I guess you could say kind of a bitterness toward us for like, man, y'all ain't got a clue how hard it was sitting there trying to rewind records and tapes and trying to figure this part out. You know, you couldn't just look it up on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, you know.
Oh, I know. Like I can imagine how the older generation probably looks and thinks like how easy it is for us to look up chords and everything. And I feel it when I think about that, it almost makes me feel bad for being like slightly annoyed. Like I know the other day I was trying to look up the chords and the lyrics to an Austin Meade song, and it wasn't on there yet. And I was like, come on. And I was like, this used to be the case for everybody.
Now in our defense, those people probably couldn't figure out how to look it up on YouTube. So there's a little bit of truth there, you know. I always have to tell my dad, but you have to type in this to search for this. But
that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, we probably don't know how good we got it. That's for sure.
You're right. Yeah,
definitely right. So when it comes to songwriting, do you do a lot of co-writing, or do you like write by yourself more often?
Yeah. So I'd probably give it a 95%. I've written with my brother Tobin Jagneaux. He's my drummer, pretty much my booking agent, my manager, everything else. You know, right there along with my co-writer. We've written a lot together. Most of the songs on the album that we've got out right now, and then of course the Worst Thing About Texas. And pretty much, you know, he and I are both kind of like if one's got a really good idea, we can't get anything out on it without telling the other guy about it. So it usually ends up like, okay, help me out, you know, and we'll throw it back and forth till we're done with it. And kind of the way we roll as far as writing songs. I have written a couple by myself, but it's a lot cooler to get his perspective and kind of hear what he thinks about. He may see something the way I don't, you know. So.
Right.
Is he older or younger than you?
He's younger. He's right at about 2 years younger than me. So he's 28. Yeah. 28.
Well, that's cool. It's always cool to see like brothers playing in a band together. I think about I think about me and my brothers, and I'm like, as much as I love them to death, I don't know if we could play together in a band. So like, I'm sure there's I respect it when you can make it work.
Yeah. I told I think it was in the Texas Music Pickers contest. I was telling them about him helping me write the songs, and I was like, if I got any advice for anybody out there, it's you do and you don't want to play with your brother. So there's great sides to it, and then there's like, fighting at rehearsal and stuff like that. So
oh yeah, because you're always more likely to fight with family.
Out of that.
Yeah, I couldn't. I have two sisters, and I couldn't play. One of them is the spitting image of me, but only a female. So
yeah,
that would never work. So.
No, yeah. Like I said, it's probably you're more likely to fight with your family than you are your friends most of the time. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Especially a brother.
Oh, you got that right. I got like I said, I got two of them, so I can relate. But yeah. So like when you guys do write together, do y'all like does it normally like what's the process? Like normally y'all come in with the melody or the hook or something first, and then you kind of work from there. Or is it different every time?
I'd say it's different every time, but majority we're word guys. We love getting good words and hooks and kind of ideas, and we'll randomly be riding down the road and we may come up with something that we don't touch for months, but we're like, that's a great song idea, and that's kind of, it just comes up in convo, kind of chatting about this and that and the other, and then we end up kind of, I guess, calling what we don't like and then taking something that we know is worthy of it and sitting down with it and I usually do the music side of things, kind of producing it and figuring out what chords go here and what chords go where and what needs to cut out, what lines are maybe a little too long or something like that. But we generally start with the words. So to me, it's easy to take something and put some music to it rather than some guys start with music and they absolutely have to do it that way. But I just guess I've always been the other way around.
Yeah, I think it probably does depend on whether you're more lyrically focused or if you started off more as like, say if somebody like starts off more as a lead guitarist and then they become like a solo artist who is also a songwriter. It's probably just the way the brain is wired, which one you kind of it's the stepping stone or how it begins.
Yeah.
But
I could totally see that where your mind's kind of stuck on the melody rather than the lyrical content for sure. But,
oh yeah. So I saw that, what was it, 2 years ago, I think it was. Didn't you played Mile Zero Fest down in Key West, right?
Yeah, I was actually there this year again. We were there in February. They had it in February of 2020, right before everything fell apart. And then they actually bumped it back this year. So we were there 2 weeks ago, I think. No, it was the end of April. So it's been a little more than 2 weeks ago, but
right. Yeah. So how is that? That's one festival that I've been saying for years that I'm eventually going to get down to because it just seems like a great time. But how is that like just being down there? One, the weather's fantastic because it's Key West. I'm sure it's a little hot, but it's probably really nice down there. But two, just the amount of artists, everybody playing, the amount of shows. I mean, I'm sure that had to be a cool experience for me as a fan, but also as an artist for you.
Dude, year one, which obviously, like I just said, it was before COVID, pre any scare about it at all. So it was absolutely wide open and definitely something to see. And I hope that by the time they put it back together for next year, that it's back that way. But yeah, dude, it'd be pretty difficult to wrap it all up in a conversation, just on a podcast for sure. But
yeah,
it's a one of a kind experience, especially for the guys like me that are just kind of coming in as rookies to the festival game at all. And then you're out and about and you bump into Randy Rogers at a restaurant and you're side stage with Wade Bowen. And this year, Stoney LaRue danced with my little baby. My little 8-month-old baby was down there with us and he danced with her on the side of the stage. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Is this live?
Cool.
Yeah.
So there's kind of the shock factor of that, being intermingled with these people that you practically don't believe they really exist. They're just, music guys. But, and then there's getting to play the venues, everybody there, they come for music. We travel a lot. We play a lot. And you never know what you're going to get when you get to a venue. It could be a crowd of people, the regulars at the bar, they just want to have their beer, they just want to drink, or they're having a bachelor party, or, anything you can think of. But this place, that regardless, they're there for you. They're there for your music. They don't care who you are. They want to hear it, and they're hooping and hollering for originals. And it's just pretty one of a kind, I can imagine a lot of other festivals like that are similar, but it's something to see. It really is. Not to mention you're in paradise,
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely can imagine because, like I said, I plan on whether it's next year or the year after, plan on getting down there because both one for just the pure, entertainment of it as a music consumer, it has to I just think that has to be such a fun few days down there listening to all these artists that I like to listen to and everything. But at the same time, selfishly as a podcaster, I'd love to get down there too because I can imagine how many people I'd get to talk to.
Oh yeah, man, you should definitely make it a priority because there's a lot of guys like that down there. I don't know if y'all are familiar being in North Carolina. You may be familiar with Red Dirt, North Carolina, and they're always down there. They had folks out of Georgia. Texans, Arkansas. You name it. People are just down there consuming, number one, but then number two, obviously working on content, and it's a great opportunity to do that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But I know that like you were saying that you see all these people like Wade Bowen or Randy Rogers that almost in your mind like they're just like this star and almost like they're not real. Andy and I met Wade Bowen one time here in Raleigh, North Carolina. He was playing a show at a venue that's unfortunately closed down now, but it was him and Dalton Domino. And by the time Wade Bowen's set ended, Andy and I were a little bit inebriated, and he was just the nicest guy in the world talking to us. We were standing there beside him, and we were afterwards we were just like, oh gosh, we finally got a chance to meet Wade Bowen, and we were about 3 sheets to the wind.
Don't know what I said. I hope it was nice. I hope it was cordial.
I hope that I made a not a terrible first impression.
Yeah. But we love you, Wade.
Yeah, exactly. Woo! So, who are some of your favorite people that you've gotten to play with so far since you've kind of broken into this region of music?
Oh man, so we've had a couple of I wouldn't say huge. We hadn't never done a show with anybody I would consider to be monumental, other than like Mile Zero Fest, as far as reputation-wise, national recognition or something like that. You know, I don't want to put anybody down or anything like that, but we've done some cool shows. We got to open up for John Wolfe, who I wasn't super familiar with before the show, but leading up to it, I listened to his music and became a fan. And he was an excellent showman. His band was great, and they treated us well. And everybody, that's the cool thing about the scene, you know, everybody's so, I've yet to run into somebody who was just downright rude or, you know, dismissing of us as up and comers.
Yeah.
I did get to, one of the coolest things, speaking of Dalton Domino, you brought him up, and I got a call from him one night because he's working with a good friend of mine, Jacob Stelly.
Oh yeah.
And, Dalton just calls me out of the blue one night after a pretty bad gig. And I was blown away that he called me, number one. But then, you know, he kind of got to talking to me about coming and getting in on some shows with them. And I went down to the Tap in College Station and got to sit beside Caitlin Butts and Chris Canterbury and sing a song. So that was nuts. And, man, I hate that my mind's just kind of drawing a blank right now, but obviously my good buddies, Tanner Ussery, Jordan Nix, they're all kind of, you know, my level, maybe a little above some of them. And they're all good friends of mine. Braxton Keith, I don't know if y'all have heard of him at all, but he's a super talented guy. I mean, there's just so many. I hate to even try to start naming them because they're also talented. Parker Ryan, Jacob Stelly, just super talented people out there that we've done some cool shows and some good events with.
Yeah, like I know that I've heard of most. I think Braxton Keith is the one that I'm not super familiar with of that group. I'll have to check him out. But but yeah, I've gotten into like Stelly's music here recently. Because I think it was via Dalton Domino that I think I discovered Stelly and Slade Coulter and folks like that. Yeah,
Slade, I didn't mean to leave him out, but yeah, he's a great guy. Great songwriter, excellent musician too, you know?
Yeah. I'm digging a lot of what those guys are putting out too. So it's like, I definitely have to check out Braxton Keith too, as well.
Yeah, man. If you like real, you know, honky tonkin, barn burning country music, man, that's your guy. He's a, and not to mention, I mean, the records, you can look his EP up, but I just feel like they don't do him justice as when you see him in person, because he's mind blowing. Like, I love him, man. I hate him at the same time because he's so good. But one of those guys, you know.
I think it's funny like that when you say that what you were saying was everybody that you ever meet in the Texas scene is always like very open and nice to up and comers, because you're not the first person that has told us that the same thing is that in the Texas scene, which some people, you know, compared to sort of like Nashville and stuff, is that it's a lot more Texas scene as the artists are already established. They're so much more receptive to new up and coming artists than really in any other scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's just, you know, I've seen a couple posts or pictures, and it's like, what separates this scene from anything else, and it's or what defines Texas country or red dirt music. And there's literally so many genres, subgenres, you name it. It could be anything from punk rock to, Southern rock, traditional country. I mean, but I think everybody has the drive to be the best that they can be, number one. And then everybody understands, what it takes. It's kind of like a mutual respect that you have for everybody, and a willingness to lend the scene out to original music. You can't go just anywhere and play your songs, and forever. When we got started, we were of the impression that people don't want to hear your song. You go out and you play Brooks and Dunn, or you play Alan Jackson, and then you might throw an original in every now and then, but that's simply not the case. We've done a couple shows where they're like, "Hey man, don't play no bunch of covers when you get here. We want to hear what you're made of." And it's like, cool. I'm down with that.
I really respect that, because there's a guy from the North Carolina scene that I think is really, really talented. And Andy, I can't remember if you were there. I know D-Berry was. We've seen him live.
Andy saw him open for Parker in Raleigh one time. So Andy's seen him,
Yeah, we've seen him. And our biggest criticism of him is he plays too many covers. And he has really good original songs.
Yeah.
Just play more original stuff.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes, like, to be fair to him too, I think sometimes that's a product of the scene he's in. Because we have a small independent music scene in North Carolina, but the fans in North Carolina are different than they are in Texas. They go to those places expecting it to be a cover band to play the crowd pleasers. Whereas whereas me personally, like I'm more like the Texas listeners, where I'd like to go and hear what, like you said, what you're made of, more so than playing me working on my next broken heart for the 100th time.
And absolutely no stabs at that, because I love those songs. And,
for sure.
That's one thing that I can't forget to leave. I can't leave it out, is the fans, man. I mean, they've been so, even probably more so than your friends that you make that are other musicians, because they can't come to your shows. They got shows of their own. It's the fans that are purchasing the tickets. They're coming to the venues. They're streaming your music. They want to hear you. Whereas, kind of how I mentioned earlier about our hometown is much like what you just mentioned in North Carolina. We have a huge casino scene in Shreveport. It's very well known for their riverboat casinos. And when you get a gig there, they want to hear old Motown. They want to hear funk. They want to hear, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you could go make good money. You can make a good living up there for sure. And there's a whole lot of talent, but I would love to see it used to be the home of the Louisiana Hayride. So it's like, man, why is there not a huge development for up and coming original artists, And so that was kind of another reason we kind of branched out, I could say, but yeah, the fans, man, they're something else. And you always run into somebody that loved your set, and they're like, man, if y'all are ever back around here, y'all come stay at the house. We'll cook for you. We got a guest bedroom you can sleep in. I mean, it's just the hospitality and the welcoming.
It's the real America.
Yeah, exactly.
Real America. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Because like BJ Barham has talked about that when he said American Aquarium. They're based from Raleigh. He talked about that when he first started out. That in that independent scene, the fans were just so welcoming, because they would be like playing small shows, not making a whole lot of money, and fans would let them sleep on the floor. They'd give them gas money. They'd like feed them and everything. He was like, it's just, there's something different about, folks that are into independent music than it is like the folks that only listen to top 40. And I think it's just, you get invested into the music, and it is a little bit more personal with the artist, because you have more opportunity to be able to like talk to them and I guess get to know them a little more, which I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of the, not to go off too far on a tangent or anything, but that's kind of why there's a little bit of hesitancy I've seen in the past, especially with folks like Kojo or Parker McCollum kind of going on to the major labels, people are like, oh, they're selling out. Or Co Wetzel, he called his album Sell Out. He knew what people were going to say.
Oh, 100%.
He knew what people were going to say. And it's kind of like you hate to see them go beyond the tangible, in your face act to being untouchable and untalked to. You can't talk to them as well as you could, but at the same time, you're happy that, obviously that they're doing something and being successful and all that stuff. So, but you really can't beat, and it's not just Texas. To go back to the Key West thing, I mean, there's people from all over the country that really love original music, and it's still there's still that hunger for original art, and that's cool. It's really 100%,
cool, man. Like I tell you one thing I definitely appreciate about the Texas scene for y'all, like the artists like y'all that are involved in that, is it kind of ties into what you were just saying. Like when we first started this whole website and podcast and this whole endeavor about 2 years ago, like Andy and I were like, worst case, we'll talk about the music we like, have a little fun on the podcast. Whether or not we ever actually get any guests on, we don't know. But we like, people have been much more receptive, especially when we first started out, when we didn't have any listeners whatsoever back then. Like they just were willing to come on. Like, cause like we had, I don't know how familiar you are with like old 97s, but I'm a big old 97s guy, and Rhett Miller was our first guest. And we were just like, yes. I told Andy, I said, I'm going to, just DM him on Instagram. He probably won't answer, but by God, did he not respond? And he was our first guest. And I looked at Andy and I was like, what the fuck are we going to do now? Cause I was like, how do we make this happen?
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate that about you guys being willing to like, especially when we first started out, like you guys being willing to come on and talk to people, when they're not necessarily Joe Rogan, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I mean, it's kind of the same concept, We're welcomed by our fans, and you guys are obviously fans, so or else you wouldn't have asked me to be a part of it. And I'm more than willing to go sing, play, talk to anybody who wants to hear it.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah. We're certainly fans because I dig y'all's sound.
I do too. I really do.
I'll be honest with you. I really can see the influence of like the 80s and 90s country in there, because I haven't heard those sounds in a while, and I'm going to ask you a question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Other than the one, the worst thing about Texas, which I'm assuming is your most crowning achievement, which of your songs is your second favorite? I may be wrong, but I assume since you won the competition with it. But
man, as far as something that's already out and released,
yeah.
I'm going to have to go. It's kind of a toss up, but I'm going to say there's a song called Ever in Louisiana on our album.
Yeah.
That we complain about it all the time, just because it's almost like we jumped into the studio and really, without much preparation, dove into those songs and just started making them up as we went, but out of all of them, that really came together and touched on a lot of influence, as well as our productive creativity in the studio, because we got really crafty with the instrumentation, the licks, the fiddle, the pedal steel. Our producer at the time, engineer, was a guy named Travis Mott from down in South Louisiana. And he was like a 15 time fiddle champion down there. And he played the fiddle on it. So, I mean, it just turned out really great, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Compared to the other stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah, no, I got to say, from that same record, I really, really like the song Broken Bow. I wanted to ask, I was like, was that strictly just a narrative that y'all came up with for the song, or was there any truth behind
that? Somebody just asked me this the other day. I think it was some friends of ours, some fans of ours that we met at Key West from South Carolina. And they were not to go once again, not to branch off. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but we met them down there in Key West the first year. And I tell everybody, I looked out in the crowd and these people were singing my songs and I'd never seen them before. And I'm looking at them like, where do I know you from? But they asked me the same question, and it's kind of a bits and pieces story from one trip. We took a trip to Broken Bow when I was 20. We were all, at that point, I'm the oldest one of my friends. We were all like 20, 19, 18, on down to 17 probably. And we went up there, and before we left town, we had somebody who was of age purchase a bunch of alcohol for us, a bunch of booze. And we probably had, loaded the truck bed down with Bud Light, and some folks had some liquor and all that. The original plan was to go up to a place called Albert Pike, Arkansas. Well, we were about halfway up, and my mom calls me and she's like, hey, last night Albert Pike flooded, and like there were some people that died that were camping there. And we're like, what? She's like, do not go there. So we're like, okay, we're not going there. Well, we found a camping spot at this fishing resort, and coming to find out they didn't have anywhere to swim. And that's what we were trying to do, get in the water and drink some beer and cook some food, blah, 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 just a regular old good time. But we found out they didn't have a place to swim. So we're like, let's get out of here. So we packed up camp, and my brother Tobin, he's like, man, Broken Bow is XYZ miles away. We had some buddies and cousins that had gone up there before. Let's go. And we're like, screw it, man, let's go. So we load back up. We had probably 3 or 4 vehicles worth of people, just caravanning up there. Well, at some point in the trip, we come to a fork in the road, and instead of going west to Broken Bow, we went east and drove all the way to Albert Pike, where we weren't supposed to go. And so this just added to the frustration of the trip. But we turned around and we drove 160 miles in the opposite direction and finally ended up in Broken Bow. Well, when we got there, the sun was kind of going down, and we were met by some park rangers at the Beavers Bend State Park, and they helped us find a camping spot. They helped us. Yeah. And we got there, we set up camp, we started drinking a few beers, cooking some chicken, and just really not even having that good of a time. It had been such a long day. We were like, let's go to sleep and try again tomorrow. But that night, we had some music playing. We were cooking, drinking, playing guitar, and we decided to go. We were going to sleep. Well, we get in the tent, and the next thing I know, I hear my brother say, man, somebody's got the brightest flashlight in the world. Oh, and we hear park rangers. That's who. Get out of the tent. So we get out, man, and they searched us down. They found all the beer, and they made us pour it all out. And it's at this point that my buddy Mark, he tells them something along the lines, and I've never been huge into keeping up with who beat who at football, but he starts saying something about LSU beating Oklahoma at some football game. And, oh gosh! And he's like, you're just mad about this and that and the other. And they ended up writing us $300 tickets a piece. There were like 10 of us. So, I mean, fast forward a few years, I got to thinking about that, and I'm like, man, that's worthy of being written down.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then the B side to that, the part 2, the crazy girlfriend verse. My brother and our buddy had both brought their girlfriends along with them, and they were just terrors the entire time. Yes. Fighting. I mean, not down to clown, not having a good time. Yeah. And so that's where the second part came from. And then go ahead.
It's honestly hilarious. Just the difference in a girl's trip and a guy's trip.
Oh yeah.
And how they look at both could be faced with the same predicament, and how just drastically different they look at the options. Man. Yeah, it's just
Yeah, it's like that meme I saw the other day that this girl was mad at her boyfriend for playing too much golf, and the guy commented when she was like, "He's always out on the golf. He just graduated from Xbox to the golf course as he's gotten older." And the guy said, "Women really just hate how little it takes to keep us happy."
They do. I mean, I'm in the process of moving into a house. Trust me. Trust me when I say yes, honey, that picture there is fine. You're just lying to me. Which I've dealt with it, it's just it's fine.
Oh man.
Hey man, I get it. I moved in here almost 2 years ago in August, and you see, my music room is the garage. So
I'm in a basement where all the reject shit goes. So.
Yeah, that's Kyle's podcast studio. His fiance made him put it in the basement.
Yeah, where all the reject shit goes, So
all the things with neon lights and beer and sports and everything, it's in the basement of his house.
In other words, everything that's cool.
Right.
But yeah, man, that's an awesome story. That I gotta say, I was hoping there was gonna be the selfish side of me as a music listener was hoping there was gonna be some story behind that.
The final blow though is just to finish it up. We had two friends. The one that said trash talked the football team, and then the other one that had the girlfriend. They never paid their ticket. And so the end was kind of a future prediction of if you ever get pulled over, like it's going down, you're going back to Broken Bow, they're going to throw you in the slammer.
Yep.
So that's kind of how we wrapped it up. But it is a true story. It just didn't all happen to me, so.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's like I said, I'm glad to hear there is some kernels of truth in on the song on that. So like we were talking. The
issue with the I got one more question for that one. Was the issue with the beer that you were underage, or that the alcohol percentage was too high for the state of Oklahoma?
Well, they blamed it on our age, but we all know that had a little jealousy tied in there too.
Yeah, back in the days when it had to be 3-2.
By their standards, we probably poured out a good 100 cases of beer, so.
Oh yeah. All right. So like we were talking about, sometimes we like to do a little lightning round towards the end. So Andy, if you want to kick things off with a couple questions for the lightning round.
All right. I'll kick it off with my favorite. Okay. What's your favorite late night fast food?
Oh,
drunk
man,
and sober. Does that go for drunk and sober?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Easily.
All right. Let's see. Kyle, you throw one in there.
We're going to do lightning round. All right. Are you a craft beer or a light beer guy?
I guess.
Be honest. No one's going to judge you.
If you consider Shiner Bock craft to Shiner, Texas, I like their beer the best, Okay,
but
by this point, it's pretty mainstream, so I don't know if it's considered craft anymore or not. But I enjoy tasting different beers everywhere I go, So that's I like craft.
Yeah, I like to pretend I'm not a beer snob, but because I don't like the people who are beer snobs, if that makes sense. So I don't want to be in that crowd, but yeah, I am kind of one. All right. My next question. Are you a car guy?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right.
I love some cool cars. Don't get me wrong, but
I'm not a car guy either, so I feel you.
Yeah. Okay. No disappointment. D-Bear, I'm gonna kick it over to you.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see here. Let's say you had to pick one meal to be your absolute last meal you're ever gonna have before you go meet the Lord. What's it gonna be?
He's on death row.
Ribeye steak, man. Ribeye steak, baked potato. I love a good onion ring, So you can throw some of those on there too.
Now, I will judge you. How is that steak cooked?
No further than medium well. No further than that.
Okay, that is respectable. Yes, that is
usually medium.
Okay,
I'll
yes.
eat medium well. Usually medium.
All right, okay. Some people, for some reason, want to cook it at meat well done for some unknown reason.
So
I want to
go ahead.
I want to be able to chew it, so.
Hey, absolutely. You got to taste the flavor.
Exactly. So let's see here. College or NFL? College. And who's your team?
LSU.
Yeah. I was thinking it was going to be LSU, but so, yeah. I mean, look, y'all had a hell of a year a couple years ago, so.
Yeah, to touch on that, I guess you could call me a bandwagon fan, because I don't really keep up with it a whole lot. But, when we were really pouring it to everybody, that was fun to watch. So.
Yeah. Hey, I was pulling for them that year because I was tired of Alabama always winning. And then on top of that, I'm an NC State grad, so I'm an ACC guy, but I'm tired of Clemson always winning. So I was pulling for LSU that year.
I was pulling for them too because it's the only way a team in purple and gold could win a national title.
Just so you know, Kyle went to East Carolina University, so that's where they're purple and gold. That's why he's mad that they can't win anything.
We're a baseball. I was living through you guys. We're a baseball school anyway.
That's all right. That's all right. Joe Burrow was such a dog, man. I mean,
you got that right.
Once again, it's kind of one of those situations where even though I'm not a huge football fan, like that made me want to be. It made me want to play.
Oh yeah,
it was the first year I actually saw a live college football game too. We went down to Baton Rouge and saw them play Texas A&M, and they put it on them. So it was a good night to be there.
Oh yeah. So so if you wanna play a song, I mean we had talked about maybe doing that a little bit earlier. Yeah, I mean feel free, man.
Yeah, man, sure. Let me pull a Ron Burgundy and get my flute out of my sleeve here. I don't know if this thing's even in tune. You guys got a request y'all want to hear from the record, or y'all want to hear something new, or how do you
guys
feel about
think?
it?
Kyle, what do you think?
Well, that's up to him. I mean, he's the one with talent here. I'm always down to hear something new, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, since you guys are country boys, and we talked about kind of some similarities in our growing up, I'll pick you right here. This is a new one that we hadn't put out yet, but it will be out before too long. But it's kind of a funny song. We wrote it about that engineer guy I was telling y'all about, the fiddle player. We showed up at his house. I tell this story every time I'm on stage when we play the song, but we showed up at his house and he had broken a bunch of stuff from the night before, like smashed the tabletop and ruined his keyboard and mouse in his studio and all kind of stuff. And we were like, dude, what the hell happened around here, And he looked me and my brother dead in the eye and he goes, I don't know, bro, but I ain't hanging out with me no more. And, so we took that, and wrote him this song right here. It's called Hanging Out With Me. Is it really 1 o'clock already? I didn't go down till that sun started to shine. Oh, busted up bar stools, broken bottles in my pool, tells me that I must have lost my mind. And I guess my baby's still mad at me, 'cause that ain't her car parked out in my yard. And I don't know who I was with, can't remember what I did. All I know is I took this way too far. And I bet I could live without talking my way out of how I wound up on the floor. My head is filled with doubt, can't seem to figure it out. Only thing I really know for sure is I ain't hanging out with me no more. And I can't believe my neighbor called the police. He comes here when his wife kicks him out. Come to think, I called him first. Man, it ain't my fault he had to work. And he knows I like my music way too loud. And I bet I could live without talking my way out of things I said when drinks were poured. My head is filled with doubt, can't seem to figure it out. Only thing I really know for sure is I ain't hanging out with me no more. Oh, no, sir, no, ma'am. There's a big crack in my phone, but it's still ringing. Getting messages from numbers that I don't know, asking when we're teeing off. And y'all, I ain't ever played no golf. And telling me to call when I get close. And I bet I could live without talking my way out of plans I made the night before. My head is filled with doubt, can't seem to figure it out. Only thing I really know for sure is I ain't hanging out. No, I don't want to talk about how I ain't hanging out me no more. With me no more.
Hell yeah, brother. Dude, I really dig that one. It almost reminds me of something that old Andy over there said when we were in either in college or year after college or something. We were still in our early 20s at the time, and Andy had gotten completely blitzed one weekend, and he goes, next day he goes, I was telling him something he was saying, something he was doing. He goes, look, man, what I do when I'm drunk's none of my business. But no, I really dig that song, man. I can't wait for that one to get released.
Thanks, man. Thank y'all. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. We cut it probably a couple months ago now, so it's still kind of in the infancy stages, but we're working on getting it out to everybody. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to be able to play at an NC State tailgate when we're all playing a little beer ball and eating some Bojangles fried chicken. So,
hey, man, that's what we wrote it for.
Hell yeah, man. So this is always an opportunity. Like if you ever want to plug like your social media handles or your website or anything, some tour dates, now would be the best time to be able to do that for you.
Yeah, so lucasjagneaux.com is our main web page, and then of course Facebook. You can go to Lucas Jagneaux Music on Facebook, and then Instagram at Lucas Jagneaux, or you can look at the band page to find out more about like touring and state dates and all that from the Road Show. At the Road Show, and show is spelled kind of like my last name, so SHEAUX. Got a little Cajun flair in there. Same thing with Twitter. You can find us on there. It's a lot less professional, a lot more laid back, as you guys know. I'm sure Twitter being a whole lot different than anything else. I just started dabbling in TikTok, posting some stuff on there at Lucas Jagneaux, I guess is what it is. I've never really shared that yet, so I don't know exactly how you go about finding that other than just searching my name. But yeah, we got music on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, pretty much anywhere you stream, download. You can find us on there. brand new single, The Worst Thing About Texas. New single coming soon.
Yep.
Couple new singles in the pipeline. So anybody out there that wants to keep up with us, y'all just follow us on Spotify, and you'll be the first to know. So.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we definitely, everybody make sure you go out there and check out his music, support, and if you're nearby, go to a show. I'm glad that you did spell the Cajun spelling for him, because I don't know if our North Carolina listeners would have picked up on that if you didn't. So
yeah, it's kind of like you asked me before we started, how do you pronounce it? I've heard everything, but it's really easy to say. It's Jagneaux, but Jagneaux. It's they added way too many letters. So
yeah, you darn Cajuns. Adding all these letters.
Right, man. Just got alphabet crazy,
Well, dude, we appreciate you coming on, man. You're welcome back anytime. So open door out here on Country and Cold Cans, brother.
Yeah, man, we're big fans.
So much for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all. Good meeting y'all.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Like I said, anytime we're nearby a show, I'm definitely going to come by. Hopefully one of these days, you guys will get to be able to tour up the East Coast a little more too. So I definitely want to get to a show when I can, whenever I get out towards the Lone Star State.
Yeah, and that's one thing before we go, we talked about hopefully in the near future. We met some friends down at Mile Zero Fest that, like I said, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. So hopefully we can make a little swing up that side of the country. So
hell yeah, brother. That's what I like to hear. So, well, for this episode of Country and Cold Cans, I'm Logan, sitting here with Andy and Kyle, and this week our special guest, Lucas Jagneaux. We'll see you next time.